Okay, enough of the weird builds. Let's get back to one that I have played a super long time. This is one of my favorite builds in the game to play. Fire Staff and Rapier. Now, this guy is so strong right now, but I don't think it's ever been a bad build. Fire Staff has always been a good weapon, and Rapier has always been a good weapon. And the strengths of this build really are the crazy amounts of AoE damage you can put out with the Fire Staff, and your ability to move around the battlefield with both of these weapons as well. And then just having Incinerate on the Fire Staff, I feel like if you're wanting to play a pretty melee-heavy style with Fire Staff, Incinerate is just such a good defensive and offensive setting skill for this build. Now, I didn't play a lot of PvP on this guy today. I didn't have a ton of time, but I did manage to get a few nice fights for you guys. And of course, there is a build breakdown at the end of the video, and if you guys are looking for a bit of a written guide, there's a link to it down below as well. And as always, if you have an awesome fight that you want to see in the New World Top 5 Fights, you can send that to Kristofer at pvpnewworld.com. So let's start off with the first fight that I have for you guys. Hanging outside the enemy outpost, we finally managed to take the bear down. Just removing his body block plus the stagger that he throws down is super devastating. And there's a nice trade there with the rapier. We go for the flurry, managed to get some good damage on those guys, and then I turn around, end up missing both my fire staff attacks. That was my opportunity to get the kill on that guy. And the other greatsword player putting a lot of pressure on me. But I do manage to just kind of fence him off, go back for the burnout. I go through both of these players. I get good damage on both of them again, but the greatsword player's got that grit up, so I'm not getting the stagger on my incinerate, but I turn around and I feed him the flurry. Big damage on this guy. I try to go for the last backstab, and a spear out of nowhere knocks me down. There's the trip from the flail there, and I managed to roll out of that and quickly switch to the fire staff and go back in with the incinerate. Back in with the burnout, and I go for the backstab on this guy. He's very low health. Again, I go for the incinerate, trying to take him down, but these guys are keeping a lot of pressure on me. My stamina is very low. They force me to use my ultimate. This guy doesn't heal up in time, so I just turn around, and I hit him with a few pokes, and down he goes. And oh my god, man, playing an intelligence-based fire staff build, the burn damage is just so much better than it is with Inferno, and I can definitely tell in these fights because it's hard for these guys to heal up effectively, and I go for the burnout again, trying to loop around the players. I do connect with one, and a fourth enemy player ends up coming in. I think it's the guy that we killed. He just respawns, and again, just trading with that rapier. The light attack, the evade, and the flurry, so powerful, and we can just do so much damage to these guys. And they are just low health. I'm getting so close to taking this guy down, and he just keeps on healing up. The healer trying to throw some heals down on him as well, but it looks like the healer is not running a ton of healing power, and he's mostly just shooting me with light attacks instead of actually throwing the big heals down on the friendlies. So that's definitely working to my advantage. I see the low health, and I just don't go for the low health player there when his health was down. He ends up getting his potion in time. There's a nice kill with the flurry. We turn around, we incinerate, we get the staggers off. We get those burns down on these guys too. Again, I try to turn around with the evade into the light attack. I end up missing, go for a few flurry pokes, don't land a lot of those either. That incinerate, man, just so good. The stagger can just turn around the offensive pressure on your opponents, and this guy is just burning like crazy now. I try to give him a few pokes with my rapier, but he just keeps swinging those heavy attacks, and my movement here is great though. We're changing directions a lot. We're going through the enemy group as often as we can, and against the melees too, this is just a really good setup for us because we can kite them really hard with this setup. I love this, man. This guy is in disbelief. He's like, how are we losing this fight? It doesn't make sense. But I almost managed to take that guy down again. He's just hanging on the little bit of health he has left. Those potions, the potion pops for him just there. Then I turn around, I throw the fireball down, and I just keep feeding him damage with the rapier. Again, go for another incinerate, get a good stagger there. This guy tries to get the stun on me. I end up getting a good dodge on that. Then we stick to the back of this guy, just finishing him off. Look how tanky these guys are too. Definitely had to work for that one. Then that's the end of the game. A nice 5-minute OPR, huh? What can you say? Anyway, moving on to the next clip here. Hanging out in the center area. There are tons of enemy players here. I try to go in and just bomb them, but I end up getting very little damage and just attracting a lot of bad attention. There's 4 enemy players all over me there. The flesh allowing us to escape that body block. Then on the staircase here, I go for the incinerate. We do land the stagger, but I take quite a bit of damage trying that combo. And these guys have the healing circle down on me as well, so I have to be careful not to get hit too much, or anybody that I hurt will get healed up quite quickly. I get a good kite back up to the top here. I get a nice incinerate, staggering the incoming player. And the flurry actually tracking to the target as I fall off the edge there. What can I say? It is so hard for me to aim that skill. I don't know why it worked, but I will take it. And this enemy player comes charging up. He's got the hatchet up, so I don't manage to get that stagger, but I do time the incinerate nicely, so I don't take a lot of damage from his hatchet. I get to apply that burn to him as well. And one enemy player sticks on me up here. He blows his stamina. I go for the burnout through him into the fireball, the incinerate. Lots of pokes with the rapier. The other player that came back up here, he is squishy. And we hit him with huge damage on the rapier. Then get him with the backstab to finish him off. And then here is just, you know, just this build at its finest, honestly. I love how great this build is at moving around in these kinds of fights. It's very hard for people to focus us with their ranged attacks or stick on top of us too. And the terrain inside here is very beneficial to this build too, you know? It's very hard to fight, I think, open field against rangers if you have any amount of people shooting at you and you're by yourself. But inside of here, we can use the terrain, just move around the different stuff. I'm trying my best to get on top of the musket player, but he's doing a good job dodging a lot of my attacks. We get really good damage on one of the enemy players there. And this is weird. I get caught in a super weird body block. I end up going down. Yeah, rest in peace. And one final clip for you guys today, just hanging out on the enemy outpost side again. The spear player jumps on top of me, he gets good damage. I right away respond by going into my flurry and then evading out of there. It's a good kind of counter to their offensive pressure, but he picks up on it right away and he himself rolls out that combo. That works well because I managed to get a good escape though. And then we go through the opponents with flesh, and I know they're coming and chasing me here, so I go for the burnout. We get decent damage on these guys. The fireball lands and gets a good connection again. The incinerate, the delay on the animation actually lands on those guys. And then I get caught up by the void gauntlet. Goodness, oh my gosh, I'm forced to use my ultimate. I turn around and I go for the flesh through them as my stamina is low, so just going for that kind of a move to kind of catch them off guard and not get caught trying to walk away. And again, the tracking on flurry, just so freaking good. I managed to get huge damage on that guy. So I head back inside and I see a few players out here. I go for the incinerate, get good damage on this guy, or sorry, the burnout. I get good damage on him, but the three enemy players turn around, they start shooting at me, so I come back up the top. Friendlies look like they're gonna try to pursue as well. And yeah, just a messy fight, but this is a fun kill here. We managed to land the heavy attack, the crit on the fireball, and the backdraft explosion. Oh my god, that was over 7k damage, no crit on that heavy, so much damage. And we head back up towards the enemy spawn, and we see the other player, the musket player here. He ends up pulling out his void gauntlet. We know what's going to happen when he does that. I unfortunately am low on stamina here, but there's a nice little evade. We managed to get our stam back. We just kite around this guy. He ends up missing all the light attacks. Then there's a nice big smack with the fireball. He's got 2 stacks of burning on him. I stay on his tail here. There is huge damage on the flesh, on the rapier. He doesn't even survive until the flurry. He ends up going down, and more enemy players coming out of the spawn here. And I'm just going to chug that condition removal potion. Oh my god, so good for PvP. And these guys here, they end up chasing after me. I wind up the burnout around the corner. I don't hit anybody, but that's okay. I do like to wind up around the corner because they can't see it coming. Fortunate that I didn't make a good connection. As I come back around the corner here, we go for the incinerate. Both enemy players get hit. We go throw down the fireball as well. And then I go into the flurry. We get a good trade, doing a lot of damage to both of those players. And then I just kind of reset and then go for another burnout into them. Three people connect with that burnout, and then I get 2 people on the incinerate. Go for the flurry into the ice gauntlet player. We get really big damage. The Great Axe player there, and as I turn around to try to go for more damage, the healer throws a big heal down on them, and I just back up a little bit, again, just moving dynamically, not in one direction, constantly changing the way I go, and this guy goes for his gap closer. He ends up going in a circle around me. Oh no. We hit him with the flesh, and down he goes. Here's a quick look at the build, guys. Not a lot of changes from the last time you've seen this build. We've got 350 intel, 100 dex, a must-have if you want to have that rapier damage, especially because Inferno is going to up our rapier damage too. I love having the big boy rapier damage on this build. And then the weapon trees, no big changes from what I've run in the past here. I guess you could run Riposte if you want. For the Fire Staff, I do recommend Incinerate, but again, it's up to the user. And then taking a look at the at the Rapier that I've got here. Omni on the Rapier, and you definitely want to have Leeching Flurry on your armor. You could have vice versa Rapier armor perks like that if you want. And then Empowering Fireball on the Inferno. I know some people like to run Flame Attunement. It's up to you there. I really like the Empowered Fireball. And there you see the Leeching Flurry on my armor too. I've got a mix of Shirking Heals, Refreshing, and Health on this build. Ideally, I would like to have some more Elemental Aversion, but you know, it's the reality of getting gear. Sometimes you can't get what you want. So health is not a bad substitute. The Tumbler's Feet Wraps, because I'm not running any Rune Glass gems that increase my fire damage, I really like them. If you had the fire damage increase, I think that even going for the Winged Leather Shoes would be a really good option. Then the jewelry is fantastic. And that is the build, guys. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you next time.